Hey guys, what's up? Newcomb Guitar Lessons here with another lesson. So this one's going to be a little bit different than my typical lessons. I'm going to be going through how to learn guitar on your own, for beginners, and kind of how I learned on my own. And so, if you like this video, like it, comment, subscribe, please. Been growing the channel. It's been great, and I appreciate all the love and support. But so the first tip I have is just don't get frustrated. I know when I was starting to play and I couldn't play a G chord or whatever, it was like, oh man, I'm never going to be good at this. My hands are too big, too small, whatever, and I'm never going to play like Jimi Hendrix or whatever. So don't set, unrealistic expectations starting out. The key is to have fun, learn songs you like, and keep trying. And if you get frustrated, just set it down and come back to it. Which leads me to my second tip, which is practice often, like every day if you can. And a lot of people think that means, oh, you have to spend hours and hours every day. And that's great if you can. But if you can't, just set a goal, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. When I was in college, I was kind of getting out of the beginner guitar phase, and I practiced 30 minutes a day with my roommate, at least, sometimes hours, just depending. But I made sure to play every day, even if it's stuff I already knew, whatever. And that's how you learn. I promise you, if you play 30 minutes a day for a month or as close to that as you can, you'll be just astonished by how much better you've gotten. But during those sessions, focus on not getting frustrated. And if you end up getting frustrated and not want to play anymore, play something you can play and you like playing and have fun with it, and then come back to the hard stuff. So those are the first two. The third one is really practice your fundamentals, like chord changes. Just sit there. If you know two chords, just do. And just keep doing it over and over. And so when you're frustrated in that song you can't learn because you can't change chords fast enough to keep up with the song, just practice that. You can be watching TV or doing whatever, and just do that. And next time you try the song, it's going to be a lot easier to make that chord change. And so simple things like that, just keep working at it, and it will come, I promise. And so the importance of fundamentals is if you learn the wrong way or you learn a sloppy way and you practice that every time you're practicing, it's not going to get better. There's no reason it should. So, practice your hammer-ons. Just do it over again. Then mix in some hammer-on pull-offs. And doing that over and over again is going to get you that repetition that gets you to the point you want to be, where you can throw it into a solo, or you can learn that song that has a bunch of hammer-on and pull-offs that you like. So starting with the fundamentals, don't think you're wasting your time listening to a YouTube video or whatever that is 5 minutes of them teaching how to do the basics properly, because you're at that stage and you need to learn it. If you know how to do it, then just practice it and it'll get there, I promise. And so that brings me to my fourth tip is, it's hard to learn on your own, but it's easier now than ever. There's millions of videos of how to play guitar. There's tabs online. There's, probably a podcast. Who knows? But so just learn from those things, but also be careful to not learn something incorrectly. So tip number 4 is use your resources. If you don't know how to do something, you're struggling with it, just take the time to watch a video and listen. Just maybe you don't even pick up your guitar. And a lot of times, like with music theory and stuff, that's how I learned, is like, and I understand how this works, but then I watched the video and I was like, oh no, I didn't understand how it worked. So that's a big tip. And then that leads me to tip number 5 is, don't just focus on tabs. Like, yeah, it's so quick to learn a song from tabs and stuff like that, which is great. Keep doing that, but take it, with precaution that it might not be 100% correct. So really focus on, if something doesn't sound right, figure out why, and that'll really, just going through that process will make things click for you, how music works, how music theory works, why when you play the song it sounds different than when you hear it. So there's great resources out there, but don't be lazy in learning from those, because I'm not perfect either. Maybe I messed up in a video, and you can comment and I'll tell you I messed up. So just take those resources, use them, and learn from them. Nobody's perfect. So that's really the best way to learn by yourself is YouTube. That's how I learned. And the other thing, I guess tip number 6 would be really learn songs that you love, because it's more fun to play, and then also learn about the person who wrote that song and why they wrote it and their history and things like that. And maybe that's boring to you. I think it's pretty fascinating, but I found it was easier to play songs that I could relate to because of what the person went through or why they wrote it. And then you learn about music and just the culture and everything behind the songs, which I think helps your growth. I'm not exactly sure how, but I think it provides motivation. And then so tip number 7 is one that hung me up for a long time. Was like, oh, I can't play that song because it's really fast and like hard rock, and my guitar just doesn't sound that great. So I did have a guitar teacher for my last year of high school that really made a lot of things click for me, and he wrote a book about Kiss with all the pictures he took from following their tour, which was pretty cool when it got published. But the first lesson I went into, he was talking about that, and he was like, well, let me see your guitar, and just let off a monster solo that sounded fantastic. And so it's not your gear. Part of it could be, but you don't need the best guitar in the world to play well or make it sound good. Like this guitar, I got $99 on Amazon. It sounds great. So if you're producing a sound you don't like, it's probably a technique or something you're doing wrong, and you need to learn from it instead of blaming it on the instrument. And granted, there are terrible instruments you can buy on Amazon and things like that are cheap. But I would say, if you have a decent guitar, anywhere from like $100 to $200, like that's more than plenty. You don't need a brand new Fender American Strat that's $1,000 to sound good. And honestly, you'll probably be disappointed when you spend that much money and don't sound that much better. So that's my 7th tip. That's really all I can think of right now. That's really when you're just starting out. Those are things that stop people from pursuing being a musician and playing guitar. And it's funny, once you learn guitar, you might be like, man, I want to learn drums. I want to learn bass. You see a bass guitar behind me. I started learning all these different instruments. So if there was a tip 8, I would say once you get it down and you feel like you're a pretty good guitarist, branch out to other instruments like a bass, because playing bass, you could learn the wrist and everything, but then you get to playing with other people and you're like, man, I don't have the rhythm feels different from, this perspective. And when you learn the other instruments and you play with other people, your compatibility with other musicians just grows exponentially. So that's my tips. I'll probably do another lesson for how to learn on your own and things like that, but thought this was a good intro to people maybe a little frustrated or don't know where to start. This is how you start. So anyway, thanks for your time. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this. Tell me what you didn't like in the comments. Put a thumbs down. Doesn't hurt my feelings. So anyway, catch you next time.